Good morning. So, for today, I have a few thoughts about love, and I get to use my patented title that I wanted to use for this video. I will not patronize you by telling you what I've already named it in my mind. If you watched my previous video, you already know. But basically, I am having some thoughts about love, and it's really something that's puzzled me like for a long time. And it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, what is love exactly? Like, I'm not sure if I understand. I mean, it's the same thing with religion. It's the same thing with these terms that people throw around, and it starts to get muddled in my head. And I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? And love is a little bit more elusive to me. And but it's something that I only like revisit every once in a while because it's just this gargantuan. It just seems like we're missing something. I don't know. It just seems like it hasn't been described properly as to what it is. And I think one of those times came around maybe like a week or two ago where I was like, if you take that love chapter, which everyone loves to recite, it's 1 Corinthians 13. They call it the love chapter. They usually recite it at weddings. Love is patient. Love is kind. I don't know. Love is, uh, you know, does not envy. Love is not proud. Love is not selfish or easily provoked. Uh, love believes all things, endures all things. I don't know. I skipped a lot in the middle, but then it ends with love never fails. It's a very comprehensive list. And I just kind of was musing about that the other day. And I was like, if you were like an alien, or if an alien came and you had to describe what love was, and you use this list, you know, what could you say that it was? Because even when we read that chapter and it's describing what love is, we already have our little notion of what love is, and we carry that to the scripture, and then we compare that, what we think it is, to what the scripture says it is, and we go, oh, most of us think of love as, I don't know. I don't want to say what people think of it as, but you just, when you hear people say the word, and when you hear people use the word, and the way that it sort of conjures up certain emotions, certain ways that people emote. So we think we know what it is, or we have an idea of what it is. We think that we're doing it. That's not a dig or anything. I'm just saying, some of us are wondering if we do it, if we've ever done it. Some people are having to realize, like, oh, that wasn't love at all. It was this other thing. And so when you strip it completely away and you just pretend like you're just from another planet, and someone starts to describe love to you, what would you call it? And the other day, it dawned on me that the way what love should be described as is a force. Love is a force. I think I went too far, because I was also going to talk about this dog, right? So I got a dog. It's been a challenge. And, it's a puppy right now. A lot of, just running around and trying to keep my house clean and whatnot. And I remember when we first got the dog, and I felt like God was saying, like, this dog's going to teach you about love. Like, but I didn't know if God was really saying that, because it was just a very like Hallmark movie thing. So I didn't know if it was just like, or just him generally just saying things that I'm not going to get for way later or something. Or just my own brain trying to be deep. I didn't know. I didn't know. I was like, okay. But I just remember hearing that in my brain. It's like, the dog's going to teach you about love. Or maybe I was like, maybe this dog will teach me. I don't remember, but there was a conversation about it. And it's funny because when the dog first got here, like I didn't even, I wasn't even on the board to vote on whether or not we were going to have a dog. If it's up to me, like we would never have a dog because it's just another thing to take care of. Um, I never was like super jazzed about dogs. Like I've never been a pet person of any kind. If I'm a dog person or a cat person, it was always a theoretical type thing. I've lived with cats and I've lived with this dog now. And it's just funny because when it first came, it was really, really, really challenging to my whole being because um, it was sacrificial. I was staying up with the dog. I was taking the dog out like every like couple of hours because it was so little and it had this tiny bladder. And and the dog was like didn't know where it was, and so I was just trying to make sure it was like not gonna freak out and like tear up my stuff, and like so yeah, I really went through like a fast basically. Like the first, I do a lot of 3-day fasts because in 3 days, like you could go longer, but 3 days really like cuts through the gets through it. It's tough. Like the second day is usually the hardest, and I really had a similar thing with this dog. I mean, the second day, I hadn't slept, I hadn't done anything productive because I'm just running around trying to watch this dog, and I'm thinking, there's just no way we have to get rid of this dog. There's just no way, you know. And then somewhere around the third day, it was like I had gotten over some type of hump, and it wasn't like, oh, the dog can stay. It was just like, okay, whatever that initial challenge was, like it's easier now. I got my bearings a little bit more. It's like you can't help but sort of adapt. But I was just noticing like the process that I was going through because it was just this push pull of like not wanting to do the job, but also like seeing another like creature and not wanting it to like be upset or sad or hungry or whatever, in trouble or whatever, and just kind of being dragged through this process by that little tiny you know spark of decency of just like not wanting to see a creature just be cold and suffering, but mostly me just being like because it was really a death to myself, to my own you know desires or whatever I had going on. It was like I couldn't just hop on the video game or do whatever. I had this dog. And so it was like that's happening at the same time. And so um I just noticed like, okay, like I know that there's like, 7 Greek words for love or whatever, and probably more in other languages. Was it 7 or is it more like 12? I don't know. I think it's 7. Anyways, I understand why that is now. And I think it's important to understand which one God is talking about, but I'm pretty sure he's talking about the one that I experienced, which is, you know, it just is something that sort of came over me over time of doing something. It wasn't like, it was, we always talk about, is love a feeling? Is it an emotion? Is it a doing? Is it a spirit? And it's a spirit of love, whatever. And through that, I realized like on the other side of it, I was better able to endure that dog. And then every day that went by, I was better able to endure the dog. It's like the natural things about our inner, what causes us to be able to adapt, what causes us to be able to be attached and drawn to something. Also, what causes our decision to be made. It was like they were all working together in this process for me to sort of add this dog to my life. And through that, it gave me like I had this bond with this dog that I didn't even want. Like it just began because sort of through my own like, trauma and sort of what I had put in and all of this stuff. And just, now it was like when you see the dog is happy, when you see the dog is appreciative, when you see the dog likes you, now you're getting something back. So it's like, oh, okay, so this is love. And it really like, it made, I was like, now I get it. Now I get it, because for a long time I just thought, well, maybe I'm just not a loving person. And, because I just did not, I wasn't this type of person. I even now, like, I don't tell people that I love them, really. Like, it just feels weird. I don't know if I'm lying or not. Like, I don't know. It just feels like, it's like, you probably know that. Don't you know? Like, I don't know. It's just, and it's hard. It's just hard for me to emote that type of stuff too. So I just kind of figured that I was one of those, hard shell people. I don't know. But it just kind of puzzled me, because it just seemed like everyone else was able to do that. And they did and they would just be like, oh, I love, and it also clarified for me when people say, oh, I love this, I love that. And we talk all day about, people using love for everything. Oh, I love this movie. I love ketchup. I love this person. But even with, when you're talking about a person, there's a way that we say that when we can just, oh, I love, like when what we're saying is, I'm enthusiastic about it. I want to love this. Like, it's really not the same thing, because the thing that I experienced was a process, and through the process, it created a mutual thing. And now I can say, like, I love this dog. Like, it's not sentimental at all. I don't even want to love the dog, but I did the thing. I did the thing, and now I love the dog. And I think a lot of people think that they have to be in a space, or it's like, oh, well, you don't really spark joy or whatever. It's like, if you go through the process that I went through, it might take you longer than 3 days. But if you go through the process that I went through, you're going to love the person. It's probably going to be a person that's going to take you through a process. You're going to love the person at the end of it. You just are. If you are if you have, the love of God in your heart, if you're a decent person or whatever, and you go through the process, it don't even matter. You don't even have to want to love the person, which is why you can have a lot of marriage advice. People tell you, like, not to marry for love and all of this stuff. And you think that's insane. Why would you do that? Because you're thinking about connection. You're thinking about enthusiasm. You're thinking about, and then people get surprised how you can be with somebody that you so care about and that you so think is great, and you crumble in a relationship with them. It's like, because it has to do with the nature of the type of love that you need for a covenant relationship, which is the type that is a fasting, sacrificial process where you break down part of yourself, and then you, through trauma and decisions and just investment, you become linked to that person. That is love. And I literally told the dog I loved it yesterday, or whatever day it was. And I was like, it just flew out of my mouth. Like, I mean, it's easy because, he's a dog. He's cute. He's a puppy. He's a cute dog. But I literally just said it. Like, it wasn't even like, I didn't have to think about it. I wasn't like, okay, you're going to tell this person you love them right now. 1, 2, 3, go. It just flew out of my mouth, And part of it, I think, is because I knew, like, I experienced it, and I believed that what I was experiencing was love. So it was very easy to say, but it was just really funny because I didn't even expect it. I just told it I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I just told a dog I loved it. Him, whatever. I was like, wow, I just said that. That's amazing. And, the person in the house that did not want the dog. And everybody's heard me yell about, him peeing on this and that. Like, everyone knows that the dog has frustrated me the most. Because I've had to do the most for it. But I literally told the dog I loved it. And so after I realized, like, love is a force, the type of love that God has, the type of love that people, when they go to heaven, they experience. I looked up the word force. So here are the synonyms for the word force: strength, power, energy, might, potency, vigor, muscle, stamina, effort, exertion, impact, pressure, weight, punch, and impetus. So, and then let me just, Then I looked up the etymology just to be right about it. So the old French word that it comes from means strength and courage, actually, and fortitude. Violence, that's an interesting one, right? The kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. Power, compulsion, also an interesting one. And then from the vulgar Latin word that it comes from, it means the same thing: strength, strong, mighty, firm, steadfast, another mainstay from the Bible, brave, we're back to courage, and bold. So when you see that love list, like, doesn't it make more sense that it's one of these? Stamina, effort, exertion, pressure, impact, weight, strength, power, energy. Energy is a good one too. But it's just like, that's what love is. So it's good to have the fuzzy feelings. It's good to have the enthusiasm. It's good to have the conviction, because all of those things are going to help the force of love. But you cannot, that doesn't mean that you're going to actually do the work or do the love just because you have those things, which is why things crumble. It's like that has to do with the person's own makeup, their own character, or whatever. And some people are going to do a better job than others. So, some people say they love you, and like after a while you're like, because that whatever they're talking about is weak as I don't know what. It ain't strong, it ain't powerful, it's not energetic, it ain't potent. But they keep saying it over and over and over, and it's just like, you saying it a bunch of times, it's not making it get good. Like, and it's, you could even, they could be offended that you are just like looking at them when they say that they love you, because they don't know how strong, the source of love actually is. Maybe they never experienced it before either. Maybe they just think it's something that you say, and it's just and if you don't say it back, then you're just a terrible person. Not knowing that if God is love and God so loved the world, it now makes more sense that, the the source that created all of this is, the fact that it's love, and now love is something that's associated with Hallmark cards and cartoon hearts and all of that. That has nothing to do with, the might, the effort, the exertion that created this whole place. So it's like, well, what kind of force created this place? Well, it's patient, it's kind, it doesn't boast, it doesn't envy, it's not selfish, it's not easily provoked. Love rejoices with the truth. Like, that's the nature of the love that created everything. So I, for one, was very like, that solves the problem for me. It's like, oh, it's a force. It's not an emotion. It's not yes, you can have a spirit of love, but what is that? You can't just say the spirit of love is a spirit that's circular. It's like you have the spirit of the force of love. So, the force, may the force be with you. That's really funny. That's really funny. They were onto something. Anyways, okay. I was going to cram a bunch of other stuff in with this video, but I think we're just going to leave it this subject only. So thanks for listening, guys. Bye.